7.5, report from the Department of Public Works. Mr. Snicky Fauché.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council. I think you're going to put my timer up there, but I think I'm going to be a little bit longer than 5 minutes. 2 minutes? Even when I'm nervous, I can't talk that fast. All right, this is a presentation for Public Works. 2016, we were supposed to do it and had a tremendous rain event happen, and we gave a report out on the rain event. 2017 of this year, we were supposed to do a report out and had a tremendous rain event and gave you the update on Hurricane Harvey and I guess the surrounding area. And today, I was wondering if the floodgates were going to open again, and it's October, so. 2016, Public Works completed 8,591 work orders. If you break that down to 4 East Bank and 4 West Bank road crews and 3 drainage crews, that's approximately 4 work orders per day per crew. While it doesn't sound like a lot, if you think of some of the work orders that you send out to Public Works, ditch cleanings, grading, repairing banks, sheet piling, those kind of things. A lot of those work orders can't be completed in one day. So this was meant to talk about the workload. 2017, so far as of September 11th, we've completed 7,069. At the rate we're going, if we're consistent across the next few months, we are going to be close to a new threshold of 10,000 work orders completed. Yeah. We've implemented a lot of organizational changes, and rather than talking about the miles of road and pipe and ditches we've cleaned, I wanted to kind of brief you on that. One of the tasks that the parish president tasked me with when I came in was to look at overtime and the way overtime was going and the amount of overtime that we were using. We implemented a new planning process, and this is all about accountability, doing a real work day and a real work day in one day. We require all of our crews now to present a weekly work plan. They're due Monday morning. We also update that with a daily schedule that you get every day from Wendy in drainage and Keena in Public Works. So you do receive a update daily as we amend our weekly work plan. Those work plans turn into a justification for overtime. On Thursday morning, all of the work crews are required to submit a request to Bob Williams for overtime. That is basically due to the work plan. We have break-ins that we didn't get to our scheduled work that we have to do. On Monday morning, I actually get a work plan or actual worked hours from each crew to understand how many man hours was put into the weekend, which is usually Friday and Saturday, and exactly what was accomplished to make sure that we adhered to our scheduled work and that work was accomplished. We have a Wednesday planning meeting. The Wednesday planning meeting starts at 8 a.m. With a project review. We look at every project that's going on in St. Charles Parish. We look at updates, status, details, obstacles. We discuss how it's going, anything that happened that we need to address. We have all of the engineers and staff in that meeting. So it's kind of like a session where everybody has an opportunity to hear what everybody else is doing, but it is also a combination of minds and ideas on how to overcome things, how to simplify, plot directions, just aligning everybody into one team. At 9 o'clock, we start a supervisors meeting, bring in all of our supervisors from the field and all of the road crews and drainage. We look at the work schedules for the week, the daily schedules and the amount of work that was completed up to Wednesday. It's also a talent alignment. We look at employee development, how to get the best guys in the jobs to get the work done as expeditiously as possible. We address safety items, we address injuries, and we also develop ideas from here. We also look at resource alignment. We're doing a lot of in-house work, and due to that, some of these jobs require more than one team. It also requires more equipment than what one team may have. A good example of that is the limestone road that we built for the Magnolia Pump Station. It took just about all of the dump trucks in the parish to bring limestone there. It took two work crews, one road crew and one drainage crew, working those two items, and it took a period of about 3 weeks. So we coordinated our best resources with that, while at least allowing some resources to continue our normal drainage work and road work. It also has been a great project development team. Who better to get ideas from than the guys who work in those districts and see things that are going every day. Drainage that doesn't work, ditches that need to be cleaned, road issues that need to be addressed. So we generate an extreme amount of projects from that group. One of the first projects we developed was after the August rain, was the Wade Street project in Mimosa Park. We've been putting a patch on Wade and Oak Street in Mimosa, and because somebody said, well, why don't we just fix it? A plan was made, Don Edwards engineered it, and we did it in-house with our own work groups. What I have here is the next few slides are actually, there's work plans that are submitted. And what I want to reinforce here is we not only have a project, but it's broken down into manpower, equipment, and duration. We also look at estimated start time, or why work was delayed, and it's all discussed in this meeting, and it's put in these work plans. Every department for Public Works provides a weekly work plan. There are no exceptions. You saw the first is drainage. This is the road crews. Telemetry group provides a work plan by employee on time and what we're working on, pump stations. Grass crews also provide a work plan. I'm trying to get through this fast. The parish has now been divided into zones because the QA inspectors go out and inspect the grass crews and the work that was done. And we were having problems actually finding the tractor and grass crews. So we divided the parish into zones. Now the QA inspectors as well as the area foremans know where the plan is to cut grass and where the crews are presently cutting. While there is a schedule to cut, due to the amount of rain we have, sometimes that does change. There are areas we can't get into because they're saturated, but it doesn't mean we don't stop. So we continually moving forward, and we just change our plan, and it's done by the weekly updates, the daily updates, and also, again, our Wednesday meeting. The carpenter crews are no exceptions. They too provide work plans, whether it's driveways or catch basins. We do work for not only Public Works, but wastewater and waterworks and recreation. So when you think about Public Works, there's not a organization or part of our department in the parish that we do not do work for, especially when it comes to heavy lifting requiring heavy equipment. We also talk about employee training. We sent 6 guys, 3 electricians, and 3 pump mechanics to generator training and certification in Baton Rouge. We are now changing oil in and maintaining our generators for the parish. This is something that we used to contract out. The electricians in the telemetry and automation group are doing our once-a-year checkup and load testing. We are looking at our pump mechanics. This is one thing I have been talking about since I came here, is to update the knowledge that we have in our pump mechanics. I mean, what is our biggest asset in St. Charles Parish in Public Works is our 160 pumps at 52 pump stations and growing. So it's one of our largest investments. We now have 14 Public Works pump mechanics and pump mechanic helpers that have volunteered on their own time to take a millwright class at Delgado. This is a certification class. They're committing to almost 1 year of 3 nights a week. And after that year, they will have a full millwright certification. Where we've been looking at and focused was an area of weakness that we felt was that our asset management. This is tracking pumps, downtime. It's work order development, looking at root cause analysis, preventive maintenance, mitigation into repetitive failures. This isn't new. This is what industry is doing, and I've been exposed to that as a reliability specialist, and we're now bringing that to Public Works. This is what the asset program that you gave the confidence in me to invest in, and this is where we're headed. What you see now is an RCM problem statement. For every failure to start that we have for a pump, we develop a RCA analysis, and it starts with a problem statement to understand what failed. It then goes to a logic tree. The reason behind the importance of a logic tree is this is duplicatable. It also creates a learning. So when we go through the logic tree and we identify a problem and we work to mitigate it, that becomes a learning lesson for all of the pump mechanics. The final third aspect of the RCA is to actually develop mitigation and a mitigation action plan. So we are now developing the action after the root cause analysis has been completed. This one right here is to install a debris basket in the sump and actually has a due date. When we do have asset management up and working, these items will be put in asset management, and this due date will be held, and the owner of that due date accountable. Here it's Chris, and we'll be following up with Chris to make sure that the debris basket got put in the sump. This is something else we're doing. It's a pump out of service list that we've been maintaining. Every week it's updated. Mr. Tragg compiles a list of pumps that are out of service. It also lists the mitigation for those pumps if that pump station is not at 100%. We do have some of our larger pump stations are actually built with an additional pump in case we had to pull one or one failed. So weekly, we do see a pump out of service report. We're taking it to the next level, though. We have put up whiteboards in our conference room. One of them is strictly for out of service pumps. This is what the whiteboard is going to hold as far as information-wise. It'll have the location, the station, the actual pump, the date of out of service, the reason. It'll actually have the mitigation on what we're doing to reach capacity. It'll actually list the capacity. You will see 110% at Kellogg pump station, and that's because the pumps that we removed, the spares we had were actually larger and a greater capacity than the two that we removed. But they are our spare pumps, so as soon as these two are rebuilt, and this was due to grocery bags got in the sump and had got up in the barrens and twisted around the shaft and actually failed the bearings, but also wore the shaft. We're going to put a screen box in the front of this sump, and that way we'll be able to catch those plastic bags. Again, this will have to be closely monitored because any screen that you would put in here that would catch debris like that is going to have a tremendous tendency to block flow altogether. This is our whiteboard. We're in the process of coming up with the organization of the information that we want on there. We do want to invite any one of you who would like to come by on a Wednesday morning to see what we do in either our projects meeting or our supervisors meeting. We've also started every 2 weeks. We now have an organizational meeting for our foreman. So I bring them in now, and we discuss what's real in the field. You know, you get watered down information sometimes. So that goes two ways, from the top down and from the bottom up. So I've been trying to create that connection with the guys in the field. So I have been bringing them in. 2017, Roads and Drainage has completed about $7 million worth of projects so far this year, and Wastewater, which you mostly know, is about $8 million. And we're in the development of those. You've seen most of those contracts already cross your desk. We do have a couple of more that will be coming. Some of the projects that were completed are Highland Roads Estates and Engineers Canal Cleaning and Shoring, Hackberry Canal Cleaning and Shoring, Dunley Phases 5 and 6, Mimosa Pump Station. Parish-wide telemetry is ongoing at all the pump stations. We are focused on getting them all online. We have also implemented a secondary project to telemetry, and that is in conjunction with our failed pumps. Any pump that has failed will come up on telemetry, and that will be an alarm and recognizable. It will also send out a notice to Public Works in order to start the failure to start form and a RCA analysis. Drainage gate at US 61 at Prescott. That's a gate that we had been utilizing in the past, but only on a per site, I guess, decision. So what we did is we installed staff gauges and we installed level control gauges so we can calibrate the level controllers by the staff gauges. It is now on telemetry. We can utilize this gate because it will give us an alarm when the south side of Airline Highway is lower than the north side. We're moving forward with this. We're working with Entergy right now in order to get power there. And once we do, this will be able to be automated. We have East and West Plantation Road conveyance. We're installing subsurface there due to safety issues and the erosion of the base of those the roads on East and West Plantation. One of our big projects is US 61 conveyance, which I've been talking numerous times about. We've been focusing on the Ormond interior drainage impacts. This has a lot to do with LAMP and the flood insurance issues there and the new BFEs. We're looking at Cypress Lakes retention. That hasn't been looked at in quite a few years, and the conveyance between the lakes in order to get that out to the pump stations. Cortex Pump Station was a total rebuild. That was recently completed. Sunset Drainage Pump Station had pumps, addition 2 new pumps. And we also rebuilt the 3 main pumps. 2 have been completed, and the 3rd is out, and I want to say due next month. Wade Street Drainage Project, which I mentioned, and also Pine Street Culvert Improvements, was all internal projects that were developed. Destrehan 1 improvements, AMA Pump Station upgrade, which is you voted on at the last council meeting. Engineer Canal upgrade, and quite a few more. We also developed 61 internal projects through our supervisor and planning sessions. These still need to be developed, prioritized, managed, and implemented. We also have a whiteboard up in our conference room, and these will hold the top 10 prioritized projects so that we can devise manpower, scheduling, and those type items to keep those moving. I gave you a list of these 61 projects. I'm not going to go over them. Since you do have access to the presentation, I'll let you view those. These are the ones that we will be prioritizing. So you have the ability to go through them and add input if you would like. Some of these you may find some additional work that you would like to have done. Please feel free to provide that input. One of our biggest sources of internal projects is canal cleaning. We presently have a full-time crew, sometimes two, depending on the amount of equipment that's needed. We have already been cleaning Cousins, Engineers, Hornville Canal, St. Charles Canal, 80 Arpent, Hackberry, Cortez. The upper guide levee is the canal on the west guide levee of the Bonnie Carey Spillway going out to the lake. This is slated for about 45 days. We've been cleaning Sunset Drainage Canals, especially number 10 Canal, Email Canal. Prescott at Airline Highway was cleaned on both sides, in the St. Charles Canal. Short term, we have recently received the, I call it the Ama Alice. This is the canal that is on the Parish line between Jefferson and St. Charles. It goes from the river all the way to the first set of railroad tracks and wraps around all the way to the Ama pump station. Sugar House Road is working. We've met with Monsanto and coming up with a plan for them to allow us to get on there and clean Sugar House Road all the way around, and also take sections out of the berm that was created due to cleaning in the past to allow water to drain on the Monsanto property. We're also putting up a small berm on the residence side where the road dips just before Luling Elementary at Corville. I wanted to say Cortez, but Corville. We're also actively receiving feedback and giving feedback, and some of the residents from Hornville actually sent letters to support the 40 Arpent Canal. We do plan on receiving that one very shortly. Kind of to wrap up, I want to show you some pictures from some of the more complex jobs that we're doing so that you can see we're not just doing normal work in public works. These are 5x10 box culverts. We actually had to rent cranes large enough to set them. These culverts were inserted into the number 10 canal crossings, that the last 4 crossings that needed to be upgraded. We laid our own friction piles. We put in our aggregate. We sheet covered it, and then set in the culverts and also pinned them in place. This is a very complex project and was completed very successfully in-house. Hackberry installation. The Hackberry Canal went close to one of our churches within about 4 feet, so we needed to install some 72-inch culverts to have confidence in the outfall and not eroding underneath the base of the church. We are also subsurfacing along some of the railroad tracks in areas where we cannot get next to the railroad and between the residents. It's very expensive for us to get what they call flagmen. It can be up to $800 a day to get flagmen that are certified by the railroad to flag for us while we're doing work to clean out these ditches. It is a long process, and it is a very hard process to get approval by the railroad. A lot of times we end up putting crews in to manually dig these areas where it's sloughed off. So we made a case to the railroad that we're protecting also the base of the railroad, and they allowed us to put some subsurface in along there, along the railroad. That was actually by the splash park where the kids were actually, yep, Thomas Colby. We're actually going to do the Thomas Colby side We're waiting for approval right now and the okay to use the flagman. So we're going to do the stretch between Scheck-Snyder to River Point. It's about 700 feet, and that we won't have to worry about that anymore. Here's Willowdale sheet pile. The basin caved in, so we actually sheet piled it ourselves and cleaned the basin. This is the US 61 Prescott gate, where we installed the staff gauges and level controllers so that we now have level control on both sides of Airline Highway. This is a tremendous help to Muntz because the water doesn't have to go to the pump station any longer. And with the cleaning of the upper guide levee, it'll have a clear path all the way to the lake. Again, we're doing a lot of pump maintenance, and we actually rented crane to pull these pumps ourselves. Another step forward for us. Canal cleaning. I put a couple of pictures in here because some of the canals you see in the subdivisions, they look a little kind of clean when we get in there and start working with them. But when you get further out away, you're talking in some areas like this first picture, about 17 trees in 100 feet that hasn't been cleaned out in years. This is the upper guide levee. This is what it looks like, and we'll be doing this all the way to the lake, and this is why it's going to take approximately 45 days to complete. You know, sometimes we help other departments. Like in this first slide, we found a water leak for waterworks. We didn't know it was leaking until we dug it up, and sure enough, it was leaking. It had nothing to do with the excavator that poked a hole in the top of the pipe, but we thought about changing it into a water feature, but Robbie said we couldn't afford the costs. And here were the new uniforms. We were looking for Public Works. You know, we got so much rain over a period of time. We figured that, you know, maybe we should relook at the uniforms and the strategies we were using. And the other night I was up and watching the late night news. And this is actually statistics I was looking for, but WDSU printed them for me. The largest rain event recorded at Kenner Airport was 5.88 inches. Since June 1st, they recorded 37.75 inches, which is 17.78 inches above normal. And year to date, as of 8/31, we were at 63.65 inches, with almost 2 feet above normal. The significance of this is twofold. One, our average rainfall for this area in Louisiana is 62.4 inches. We have already received in the first 2/3 of the year above our average rainfall. And if you could just visualize 2 feet of water in any one place, that is approximately the additional rain that we received through this period of time. And I appreciate it. Any questions? And I hope I didn't put you to sleep.